Okay, we are solving inequalities. The nice thing is you have all the skills in which you need to be able to do this. This has same rules as solving equations, so that's what we've been focusing so much on. It's the exact same as solving inequalities, except if I divide by a negative, I flip my inequality sign, and I'll show you that as we're working down here on our examples. You also need to know how to graph an inequality. If you say less than, not thing, sorry, less than, you draw an open circle with an arrow to the left. What I like to do is L stands for left, so if I say less than, left means for the less than means to the left. If you say greater than, you draw an open circle with an arrow to the right. I look at my R, my greater than, to the right. If you say less than or equal to, you draw a closed circle with an arrow to the left. If you say greater than or equal, you draw a closed circle with an arrow going to the right. Okay? Why does this make sense? Let me go ahead and tell you real quick. Less than means it's not equal to the number in which you found. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I put an open circle, it means that it's not the 2. It's not the 2. And then if I draw an arrow to the right, that means my answers are not 2, but anything to the right of 2. So that's why greater than is to the right, because greater than means greater numbers. Well, what's greater than 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth? If I do put a filled in circle, that means that we count the number 2. That means 2 is a solution, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. On number 1, in order to solve my problem, I need to divide by negative 11. And I taught you up here, if I divide by a negative, then I actually flip my inequality. So n would be less than negative 2. Less than. Let me go ahead and pause and come back up here because I skipped a sentence. It says, when pronouncing an inequality, you always read from the variable. The variable is the letter. So the variable could be on the left side or the variable could be on the right. Depending on where the variable is, that's where you start to read. Since n is on the left side and my small space comes first, we pronounce this n is less than negative 2. Okay? So, less than means I draw an open circle. That does not include negative 2. Less than means left. And why does it mean left? Because I need values less than negative 2. Negative 3 is less than negative 2. Negative 4 is less than negative 2. So my arrow goes to the left. On number 2, if I were to solve this, I would add 14 to both sides. Add 14 to both sides. I have p greater than 14 minus 7 would be 7. And how do I pronounce this? P, and then I look at my space. P is, my big space comes, so P is greater than 7. Open circle, greater than means to the right. I need numbers greater than 7, which would be 8, 9, 10, 11, so on and so forth. Number 3. Okay? What I can go ahead and do is I can go ahead and I can combine like terms. So, negative 24 greater than 6 minus 6n, just like I taught you how to solve. Minus 6, that gives me negative 30, greater than negative 6n. If I divide by negative 6, I divided by a negative, so I have to flip my sign. If I flip my sign, that gives me 5 and then n on the other side. Okay. My variable is on the right side now. If my variable is on the right side, I have to go in. I have to start with the variable when I say this. So n, and now I look at my sign. The big space comes next, so n is greater than 5. So open circle at 5. Greater than means to the right. 6 is greater than 5, 7 is greater than 5, so on and so forth. Number 4, go ahead and solve, and then we will graph together. If you solve, negative 8 minus 1b, so that gives me negative 9b. If I divide by negative 9, I have to flip my sign. 9 divided by negative 9 is negative 1, and b. So, how do I pronounce this? b is, now I look at my sign, b is, the small space comes first, so b is less than negative 1. So, open circle at negative 1. What are values less than negative 1? Negative 2, negative 3, so it's going to the left. Less than means to the left. Number 5, pause the video and go ahead and solve. On number 5, I distribute my negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 7, positive 56x. Minus negative 8 times 7, 56. Greater than negative 112. I add 56 to both sides. So negative 112. 112 minus 56 is 56, but negative because I'm more in debt. Negative 56. Divide by 56, x is greater than negative 1. Well, Mr. Bourne, you did not flip your sign. I do not flip my sign because I did not divide by a negative. The negative was already on top, so I didn't divide by a negative, so I can keep my sign. So how do I pronounce this? X is greater than negative 1. So I go to negative 1, open circle. Greater than means values larger, so it's going to go to the right. Number 6, go ahead and pause the video, solve, and then we will graph together. On number 6, I take my negative 6 and I go ahead and I distribute. So I got negative 90 less than or equal to negative 6n minus 48. Add 48 to both sides, add 48 to both sides. So 90 minus 48 is 42, but negative, so negative 42 less than or equal to negative 6n. Divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. Now I divide by negative 6, which means I flip my sign. N is on the right side, and 42 divided by 6 is 7, positive. 2 negative signs make a positive. I read from the variable, so n is less than or equal to 7. So this time, I'm going to fill in my circle at 7, because that means I include 7. And how did I pronounce it? N is less than or equal to. Less than means I need values less than 7, so it's going to the left. Number 7, pause the video and solve. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my 4x over. So I'm going to take minus 4x minus 4x. So that gives me 4 greater than 2x plus 12 minus 12 minus 12. That's negative 8 greater than 2x. Divide by 2, and I get negative 4 greater than x. Now, once again, I did not flip my sign because the negative was on top. I did not divide by a negative. So I need an open circle at negative 4, but then I pronounce that as x is less than negative 4. Less than means to the left. So I need values less than negative 4. Go ahead and pause the video on number 8 and solve. Okay, I can go ahead and combine like terms. Negative 13 minus 2 is negative 15. Negative 15 minus 5 is negative 20. Plus 8p greater than or equal to 7p. And actually I can combine 7 and 6, which is 13p. I'm going to go ahead and bring my 8p over, minus 8p. That gives me negative 20 greater than or equal to 5p. Divide by 5, negative 4 greater than or equal to p. I did not have to flip my sign because the negative was on top. So how do I pronounce this? Start from the variable, so p, and then the small space comes first, so p less than or equal to negative 4. So at negative 4, I fill in my circle. Less than means to the left. Number 9, go ahead and pause the video and solve. On number 9, if you distribute, we get 7k plus 12 less than positive 12 minus 28k minus 8k. Combine like terms, 7k plus 12 less than 12 minus 36k. Debt plus debt is more debt. Now I need to get my variables together. I'm going to add 36k, add 36k. That gives me 43k plus 12 less than 12. Minus 12 minus 12, that gives me 43k less than 0. I divide by 43, and I get k less than 0. 0 is at an open circle. K, small space first, k less than means to the left. Number 10, pause the video and try. Distribute the negative 2, so we get negative 38 plus 8r less than or equal to negative 14 plus 16r. Now, I can go ahead and get rid of my 8r. So I got negative 38 less than or equal to negative 14 plus 8r. Add 14, that gives me negative 24 less than or equal to 8r. Divide by 8, I get negative 3 less than or equal to r. But how do I pronounce this? R is greater than or equal to negative 3. So filled in circle at negative 3, and greater than or equal to means values larger. So then that would go to the right, and we are done.